So let me ask you, if Adam and Eve were the first humans created by God, where did Cain find his wife? If only Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel existed at that time, then who were the other people Cain was afraid of when God banished him? If Cain's wife came from another group of people, then who created them? Why does the Bible remain silent about Cain's wife's identity, while some ancient forbidden books give very strange details about her origin? And most importantly, what truth has been hidden from us about the real beginnings of humanity? Yes, these are the questions that make even the boldest pastors change the topic. But tonight, we're going to talk about it. Now, for centuries, preachers, pastors, and prophets have been dancing around this question. They tell us, don't question God's word. They tell us, just have faith. They say, some things are not meant for man to understand. But is that really true? Or is it just a way to keep us from asking questions that could change everything we've been taught about creation? I've listened to hundreds of sermons, read countless Christian books, and searched through both the accepted and the forbidden texts, those ancient writings that were once part of early teachings before being removed from the Bible we know today. And what I found will shock you. Let's start with what the Bible actually says. In Genesis 4:16-17, it says, "So Cain went out from the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain made love to his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch." The verse simply mentions a wife, but gives no clue about where she came from. If Adam and Eve were the first humans, and they had only 2 sons, Cain and Abel was killed, then who was Cain's wife? Was she his sister? Many pastors say yes, Cain married one of his sisters. But hold on, the Bible never tells us that Adam and Eve had daughters until much later in Genesis 5:4, which says Adam had other sons and daughters. So logically, if Cain married a sister, that means Adam and Eve had daughters before that verse was written yet. The Bible skips that detail completely. Why? Could there be something deeper? Something that was intentionally left out? Let's check from the forbidden books that were banned because of some reasons. Now let's open the Book of Jubilees, one of the ancient texts that were once respected by early believers, but later condemned as non-canonical. According to the Book of Jubilees 4:9-11, Adam and Eve indeed had many children, sons and daughters, and one of them, named Awan, was given to Cain as his wife. Yes, it says Cain married his own sister, Awan. That's the explanation given in the forbidden texts. But here's where it gets strange. The Book of Enoch, another banned ancient text, doesn't just talk about human families. It describes other beings who lived on earth in those days known as the Watchers, or sons of God, who mated with the daughters of men. Now, if those events were happening even in early Genesis times, could it be that Cain's wife was not a pure human descendant of Adam and Eve, but from another line of beings that existed outside Eden? Remember when God banished Cain, he said, in Genesis 4:14, "Anyone who finds me will kill me." But who were those anyones? If only his family existed, who was Cain afraid of? That single line, often ignored by preachers, suggests that there were other people living on earth apart from Adam and Eve's family. So, where did they come from? This is where most preachers stop talking. Because if they go deeper, they might have to admit that the story of creation is more complex than what we've been told. Some scholars, especially those who study ancient Sumerian and Mesopotamian texts, claim that the creation story we know from Genesis was not the first version of humanity's beginning. In the Sumerian tablets, which existed thousands of years before Moses wrote Genesis, there were already stories of gods called the Anunnaki, who created humans in their image to serve them. Now think about this. Genesis 1:26 says, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." Who is the us? Why didn't God say, "Let me make man"? Many theologians try to explain it as the Trinity, but the concept of Trinity didn't exist when Genesis was written. So, could us refer to a council of divine beings, just as the Sumerian texts describe? If so, it means Adam and Eve might not have been the only humans, but perhaps the first of a chosen bloodline, created differently or set apart. That would explain why Cain, after being banished, went to the land of Nod, a place already existing outside Eden, where he met other people and took a wife. This paints a very different picture, doesn't it? If we piece this all together, here's the shocking possibility. Adam and Eve were not necessarily the first humans ever created, but rather the first spiritually conscious humans, chosen and placed in the Garden of Eden, a divine protected zone while others already existed in the outside world. Those other humans could have been early beings created before Adam, or descendants of other divine experiments, the same ones hinted at in the Books of Enoch and other ancient texts. That means Cain's wife may have come from those people, not his direct family. Now imagine how much this changes the story. It would mean the earth was already populated when Adam and Eve were placed in Eden. It would mean the mark of Cain wasn't just a punishment, but a sign of separation, a genetic or spiritual mark distinguishing his lineage from Adam's line. It would also mean the human story didn't start with a single couple, but with multiple creations, some inside God's covenant and others outside of it. And that's exactly what most religious teachers don't want to talk about, because it challenges everything we've been told about original sin, ancestry, and divine order. But let me not be the judge here. You watching this right now? What do you believe? Do you believe Cain married his sister, as some pastors claim? Do you believe there were already other humans created outside Eden? Or do you think Cain's wife was of a different kind, perhaps even one of the hybrid beings the Book of Enoch described? Tell me what your religion or your faith tradition says. If you're Christian, Muslim, or from any other belief, how does your faith explain this mystery? Because the truth is, this question connects to something bigger. It's not just about Cain's wife. It's about the hidden chapters of human history that we've been forbidden to read. The truth is, many of the ancient books that were removed from the Bible, like the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and even the Gospel of Thomas, were taken out because they revealed too much. They didn't fit the simple story the church wanted people to believe. They spoke about other beings, other worlds, and other creations. They connected the divine with the human in ways that would make people question everything. And that's why the story of Cain's wife was never truly explained. Because to explain it is to expose the hidden beginnings of mankind. So the next time someone asks, if Adam and Eve were the first humans, where did Cain find his wife? Remember, the Bible gives you silence, but the forbidden books give you clues. And those clues lead to a truth most preachers are too afraid to touch. What if the Garden of Eden was just one of many experiments? What if Adam and Eve's story was not the beginning, but a continuation? And what if the answers we seek were hidden, not to protect us, but to control us? Think about it. Drop your thoughts, beliefs, and theories in the comment section. I want to hear what you think. And if you love uncovering mysteries like this about God, the Bible, and the forbidden truths the church never talks about, then make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications, and stay with me, because in the next episode, we're going even deeper into the questions religion fears the most. Because here, we don't run from the truth, we chase it.